Remember that moment in Dracula? The moment combines drama and tension, action and special effect. Yet few movies have ever attempted it, and none have done it true justice on the screen. The moment I speak of is memorable to everyone who's read the book. That moment is Dracula's descent, head first over the dreadful abyss down the castle wall. Right now, we explore the history of Dracula's lizard descent on film.
Explore the history and lore of Dracula.
Imagine climbing a wall like this, not as an athlete, but an animal, over a 1,000-foot cliff in the moonlight, facing head down. That's the vividness of the scene that Stoker paints. To grasp its real power, we must understand not only the text, but the context of events as they happen in the novel. First, the lizard descent scene as written by Stoker.
Dracula, Chapter 3, Jonathan Harker's Journal, 12th of May, later. My very feelings changed to repulsion and terror when I saw the whole man slowly emerge from the window and begin to crawl down the castle wall over that dreadful abyss, face down, with his cloak spreading out around him like great wings. At first, I could not believe my eyes. I thought it was some trick of the moonlight, some weird effect of shadow, but I kept looking, and it could be no delusion. I saw the fingers and toes grasp the corners of the stones, worn clear of the mortar by the stress of years, and by thus using every projection and inequality moved downwards with considerable speed, just as a lizard moves along a wall.
Stoker lays the main theme of the novel right over Harker's words, as at first he searches his mind for a scientific, rational explanation, a trick of the moonlight. Yet horror reveals that the incredible, unbelievable still exist in far corners of our world. Now a little context from the book to understand the moment Harker is experiencing.
Dracula, Chapter 2, Jonathan Harker's Journal, 8th of May. The castle is on the very edge of a terrible precipice. A stone falling from the window would fall 1,000 feet without touching anything.
A moment later.
When I had seen the view, I explored further. Doors everywhere, and all locked and bolted. In no place, save from the windows in the castle walls, is there an available exit. The castle is a veritable prison, and I am a prisoner.
Harker endured a long, nightmarish journey to the castle. He's essentially stuck inside a castle, inside a maze, guarded by an inhuman physical freak. And all of it staged over a deadly cliff. Harker would continue to see Dracula leave the window and move down the castle wall in lizard fashion as his normal means of exit. Dracula to his castle, like a spider to its own web.
Dracula, Chapter 3, Jonathan Harker's Journal, 15th of May. Once more, I have seen the Count go out in his lizard fashion. He moved downwards in a sidelong way, some 100 feet down, and a good deal to the left. He vanished into some hole or window. When his head had disappeared, I leaned out to try and see more, but without avail. The distance was too great to allow a proper angle of sight.
That's the lizard descent on print. Is it possible to recreate this otherworldly image on film? First, let's look at the lizard descent's illustration history to see how artists imagine this scene as a singular static image. The first paperback in 1901 included cover art said to be approved by Stoker himself, and may be the first official illustration of the character Dracula. Given this prominent status, is it fair to say the lizard descent is truly the quintessential image of Dracula? A descriptive representation that best captures the character of Stoker's antagonist? In 1912, we have another book cover, which also became the basis for the promotion of the 1924 play in England. More on that later. A Fritz Schwimbeck illustration does a good job capturing the essence of danger of that dreadful 1,000-foot abyss below. This is attributed to famed Lord of the Rings illustrator, Alan Lee. And we have later graphic novel-style interpretations, including Marvel Classics and a 2011 cover illustration. The first illustration is maybe closest to the book. A cape has bat wings, lizard posture, headfirst descent, a sheer wall. We don't see the dreadful abyss, and Dracula has hobbit feet? So how do the movies fare? We do not see the lizard descent realized until 1953, despite the 1924 play wanting to integrate it as part of their prologue. Hamilton Deane's Dracula hit the stage in 1924. The play truncated the long novel by consolidating the action to London only, dropping scenes in Transylvania. But Deane wanted to include at least a short character introduction in the Count's homeland to introduce his title character. His choice to do that would have included the lizard descent.
Trousers must be strapped under feet, 1 foot to be secured inside window to solid rostrum. The Inverness cape which he wears must be heavily wired, so that when face downward, it assumes the shape of a bat's wings.
The idea was scrapped due to cost and complexity, but as referenced earlier, the promotional materials included the depiction of the lizard descent as seen from Ivan Butler's photo of W.E. Holloway, who played Dracula. If they had pulled that off, would the lizard descent have become a staple of the movies? Remember that the 1931 Bela Lugosi movie was largely based on the American play, which was adapted from this play. That is why so many tropes that are original to the 1924 and 1927 plays exist to this day, because of their popularization from Todd Browning's Dracula in 1931. There has been speculation about the prospects of 1920s Universal horror star Lon Chaney playing Dracula for the 31 movie, if not for his untimely death. Fact or fiction, isn't it interesting to wonder if Chaney could have pulled something off for the lizard descent, similar to his wall climbs in 1924's Hunchback of Notre Dame? Yet it was a Turkish production, obscure to many audiences, that would give us the first on-screen realization of the lizard descent, which looks to be an actor bear walking over a mocked-up wall on the ground. 1970s Scars of Dracula would give us Christopher Lee's attempt at the lizard descent, which includes him going the wrong way. But the movie has a cool motif of the open window playing throughout, which pays homage to the power of the scene from the novel. A 1977 BBC production that made some effort to be more book accurate than most gives us an odd belly flop motion. Remember, the novel states that Dracula moves with considerable speed as a lizard climbs a wall. A 1979 British production gives us an eerie scene in the wrong context from the book, but probably the best approximation to date, sans speed in a batwing cloak. And 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula does some things like the book, and some things very much not like the book, did a nice job of giving that lizard-like posture and sense of the incredible height and danger. Yet none of these, for me, capture the feeling from the book. The unnaturalness, the trick of the moonlight.
The trouble with doing it in a film is if it comes out cheesy, you've just killed the mystique of your franchise antagonist. Is it worth the risk? After all, in the end, does it really matter? The lizard descent is just a stunt, a meaningless moment that makes sense for movies to pass over, right?
Dracula's inhuman lizard-like wall climb probably is an afterthought for the way the character is portrayed in modern movies. But here's where I disagree with the decision to leave out the lizard descent. The movies could be something that they are not, and be more like the book.
And here lies the crossroads, a moment when the popular image of Dracula took two paths. One where the lizard descent is a staple image of Dracula, versus what we have now.
Think if Hamilton Deane had pulled it off in the 1924 play. Would it have become a staple of pop culture? What is something else that originated in Deane's play and passed on to the 1931 movie and became part of sustaining Dracula pop culture? The idea of Dracula as a mingling ladies' man.
Cutting the screenplay to London meant moving Dracula there too. What's a play without its title character? And now he interacts face to face with the cast, where he doesn't in the book. It was Deane's play that introduced the dinner jacket, and Lugosi losing the makeup in the movie gives us the suave count, hiding in plain sight.
The modern movie version of Dracula, that character feels out of place with the lizard descent. He isn't a repulsive, reclusive spider hiding in the shadows. He's a monster, but whose mask is cosmopolitan society. There's a difference in the novel. When Dracula goes to London, he disappears. He becomes a literal mist and shadow. A chameleon hiding in London, out of sight. One whose character is perfectly represented in that otherworldly climb down the castle wall.
If that version of Dracula was immortalized on screen, would it have set a similar but polar opposite characterization of Dracula? The monster of the shadow instead of the romancing anti-monster. If so, the otherworldly climb down the castle wall would be the staple image of Dracula. Would it not? Decide for yourself. Could the lizard descent have changed how most people perceive the character of Dracula if early producers could have pulled it off and done it justice?
How long will we have to wait? Will there yet come a time when Dracula's lizard descent is done true justice on the big screen? Perhaps some moments can only be captured with the magic of the printed word.
You're tuned in to Barton Bones. For more of this and other classic horror content, visit infeedvideo.com. And don't forget to subscribe on Patreon to support the show, where it's plots, its themes, its scary memes. Barton Bones take you behind the screams.